Also, can I say I love how you actually looked at the graphs?
That's the only graph I remember.
Okay.
Because
I
it's
was
like the
like,
first one. I'm going
right?
to fight this author. You
Yeah.
don't talk about cookies.
Yeah. Been there, done that.
Been tracking habits for like 6 years. I don't need to read about this.
It's like, sir, would you like me to pull out my plethora of journals?
I get
Yeah.
so mad. I'm like, why did you leave me? Do you have a
Now
quirk?
you've sparked. See, this is why I like you going first, because then it sparks something in me. I'm like, I can't see, I'm blind. That's the only way I got through it. What's up, spammers? Welcome back. We're your host, Nyla and Crystal. And today we are going to be doing a bit of a serious/fun episode because it's not really that serious, but it is a more serious topic than some of our fun episodes. But we are going to be discussing one of our most recent reads, the book Atomic Habits. Nyla, where's your book? Well, where's your book?
Where's my book? I got it.
Got it. We're going to be discussing Atomic Habits. And honestly, I feel like give me your rating on Atomic Habits, Nayla.
I don't think a rating is good for
Okay.
I think rating nonfiction is really hard.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because I feel like a lot of nonfiction books are there to present information that we kind of already know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like emphasizing on the fact or like just giving us more information on it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to give it a star rating because is
Okay.
it enjoyable? Like, is it a good read? Like all those, there's so many different factors.
Okay, I see you. I see you. I hear
Yeah.
you. I have a rating for it.
Give us yours.
So I also agree. I always say that self-help books they're just general information you already know, but it's going to be presented in a different way to you, and it's going to like spark something in you, and you're going to feel motivated to go out there and like act on it. And so because of that, so everyone raves about this book.
Yes.
Like
Yes, they
everyone
do.
raves about it. That's the whole reason why I started reading it, because everyone talked about it. They're like, this book changed my life.
Life-changing. Yeah.
Right. So I'm like, okay, let me see for myself. So I went in there. I decided to just, remove all of that expectation from this book, all of the hype. And I will say I did enjoy it. But with that being said, I am going to have to rate it like a 4 point, like maybe 2.5 out of a 5 stars, because while this book does offer some great advice, I don't think this book itself is going to change your life. And I don't want people to like go into this book thinking that it's going to do that for them, because if you don't actually act and like apply some of these things that he like says in the book, it's not actually going to change your life. So I think I would like to change the
narrative,
I guess, that people have of Atomic Habits, that it's a life-changing book, and say no, it's not life-changing. It presents some good life-changing topics, ideas, advice, but the only thing that's going to be life-changing is if you actually apply these things. So that's why I give it like a 4.25, because it is good. And also he said something in there I didn't like, so that's why I also dropped a little bit of the rate.
He said some more than just one thing
right?
that I also, there were some things that bothered me a little bit. Yep. Yep. No.
Okay, good. It wasn't just me.
Yep. There were some things that I didn't agree with. I'm with you. I think 4 out of 5 is like solid.
Pretty good. Yeah.
I think it doesn't deserve a 5 out of 5. I do think a lot of people started this book and read it at the beginning of the pandemic. And so it was life-changing for a lot of people, because we went from having strict routines to having no routine at all. And so that's why possibly it could be life-changing for a lot of people. But
true,
I think it depends on like when you read it in your life. Because I feel like if I also like, if this was at the beginning of the pandemic when they were like, we're staying home, and I read this book, I was like, oh, like, yeah, these are all the things I could do, like, to make sure I'm getting like being active, or like, getting my work done and things like that. But then at this point in my life, it was different.
Yeah.
Because I already understand habits, I already understand routines. And while again, it was insightful and like I learned more through it, it's different where I am now.
Yes. It does actually like present some really good ideas and like pieces of advice. And I will say, like, it was a it was a good book for the start of the year, to be
Yeah.
honest, because I think
Mhm.
it starts you off on like on a good note, and it really did keep me motivated to like wake up every morning and read something that was insightful versus something that's just like
Fun.
fiction, fun.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I did really enjoy this, and I think we could just go ahead and get into the discussion.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
also wanna piggyback off of,
yes, go ahead.
it being a good book to read at the start of the year
Mhm,
because I feel like or I feel like it's either good at the start or if you're, like, hitting a
mhm,
slump somewhere in the
mhm,
middle. I feel like it would
mhm.
also be good then
Yeah.
because like you said, it did motivate me and, like, again, and we'll get into the discussion, we'll talk about, like, habits we formed from the book possibly and things like that.
Mhm.
But I do think it was a great read at the beginning of the year.
Yes. And also, as we always say on our more serious topics, remember that all of these things that we say are our own opinions, our own thoughts, and we're not really speaking for everyone. We're just speaking for ourselves and our own journeys and our own lives.
Mhm.
And I think it's just very important to say because while this isn't really like controversial type of episode, we could still have different opinions. And so just take it lightheartedly and,
Yeah.
you know, we're not trying to be like, this is the way you should do it or this is the way you should think. It's just the way we
Mhm.
think and we're just sharing
Mhm.
it.
It's how we took in the book.
Yes. All right. So we decided to take some questions from a website called bookmatic.com, and they have 25 discussion questions on atomic habits. I don't know if we'll do all 25, but we'll definitely do some of their questions and just get into a discussion. So,
Mhm.
all right. Nyla, would you like to do the honors of starting the first question?
Yes, I can read off the first question. It is, what do you think is the purpose of this book? I'm like, how do we talk about the book? So
Right.
basically, there's like 4 laws,
Mm-hmm.
and the book goes through each law and explains the basically the do's and the don'ts.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's any other. It's just relaying information on how you can create habits that will
Mm-hmm.
help you later in life, basically.
Yes. And how to build them, how to stick with them, and how to like keep them going too. So,
Mhm.
yeah. All right. Question number 2 is, how has this book changed the way that you look at your own life? Nyla, I would like to hear from you because you recently started waking up earlier.
Crystal just like straight up, like, here you go.
Yeah.
Um, okay. Waking up early has always been a struggle for me. Like, even when I was in like elementary school, I used to wake up 15 minutes before I had to leave the house. I used to brush, change, eat, and go. Like it was there's
Fast.
no yeah, there's I did not take the morning slow. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
very last minute wake up. Like even I had Zumba in the morning on Saturdays. I wake up 5 minutes before I have to start and I change, take my pre-workout, and I get started. Like
Yes.
I've always been like that, but and Crystal, thank you for noticing. I have been trying to wake up earlier.
I've been seeing it. Sometimes I'll see you respond to my messages like much earlier in the day, and I'm like, she's waking up earlier.
Mhm. And so I think consistently I have been waking up
Mhm.
earlier. Do I think the book completely changed my mindset on it? No. I
Mhm.
think I already had that goal of wanting to wake up earlier,
Mhm.
but I did take some things from the book, like one of the laws is make it attractive.
Mhm.
And so I use that like in my when I wake up, first thing I do is I put on my headphones and I like blast music.
Mhm.
And that's like making it attractive because I love listening to like music with lots of beats in it in the morning because it
Mhm.
like wakes me up. And so like that's one thing I took from the book and applied it
Mhm.
to help me with my
Oh,
habit. Yeah. But other than
yeah.
that, um I think the book kind of just reiterated things for me personally
Mhm.
because especially we got toward the end when it talked about, like, habit tracking and stuff, I was like, "Oh, I already know this stuff, like, this stuff
Yeah.
is, like, comes easy, whatever." But, like, just the simple things, like, make it easy, make it
Mhm.
attractive, like, reminding me of how
Mhm.
I started most of my habits and how I've gotten to the point I am today and how to
Yes.
continue that.
Mhm.
And so I think that's how it's changed my life.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good way of putting it. I like that. I like that.
How about you, Crystal? Because you read
So,
it in the morning.
yeah. So I'm actually gonna kind of copy and paste what you said. So something I started doing this year was also waking up earlier because it's always been a goal of mine to wake up at 5 a.m. I've always wanted to be a 5 a.m. person. I don't know. I've always been a morning person. Like I've always woken up like 7 usually is the latest I would wake up
Mm-hmm.
because the later I wake up, it just makes me feel like my day has gone to waste and I feel like I don't have enough day to really make it count.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did struggle a lot with trying to get in that habit, but it's just weird. Like I think like at the beginning of this year it just clicked. It
Mm-hmm.
clicked before I started
Before the
reading this
book.
book.
Mm-hmm.
But this book fueled those habits. And
Mm-hmm.
it helped me just kind of stay motivated. The way I think of it is kind of like having like a supportive friend, you know?
Yeah.
They're like, get up, you know, get going. You're doing great, sort of feeling. So that's what I liked about that book is like how you said it just kind of like
Reassured.
reassured like what I already knew,
Mm-hmm.
what I was doing, and just literally it's so weird because as I was doing some of these things, as I was implementing habits into my life, the
You were
next
like,
like I read that part of the book as soon as I started implementing that new thing in my life and I'm like this is weird, like how is this like making sense? Like how is
mm-hmm.
this happening? How's this correlation? I don't get it. But it was weird cuz I remember literally like at the beginning of the year, I wanted to start journaling. And then I started reading, and he said something about how, like, you have to be
Journaling.
consistent with journaling,
Mm-hmm.
even if you just journal for like a page or like a little section. And I literally said that in a video the day before I read that part. And I'm like, that's so weird. So, yeah, that's why I always say, like, self help books, like, they say what you already know, but they're just going
Mm-hmm.
to say it in a even better way or the way you need to hear it, I feel like.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I remember when it was one of your first vlogs of the year where you
Hmm.
were like, I'm gonna try and journal every night before bed. Doesn't matter how much I write. And I was like, literally, that's what the book said.
Yeah, and I've never read this, like, book. Actually, I don't think I bookmark a specific part of this book, but they literally said what I said, like, word for word, and
Hmm.
I even mentioned it in my blog, but I cut it out because 'cause I'm like, "People are gonna think that I'm, like, lying at this point." But, yeah, they literally said exactly what I said, and in my video, I was like, "I don't know who this man is," and he just said exactly what I know.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's crazy. The book works in mysterious ways. Question number 3. What identity, who do you want to be? Do you want and already have, and why?
You just talked about being a morning person.
Mhm. Yeah.
I want to be a morning person.
Yeah. So, actually, let's talk a little bit more about that.
Hmm.
So, you've always been a night owl?
100%. Yeah.
So, how are you transitioning from, like, going from being a night owl to a morning person? Because I feel like that's definitely hard
Yeah.
because like, it become when you do it so much, it becomes a lifestyle, and it's, like, hard to break that lifestyle. So, how is
Hmm.
that transition going for you?
Yeah. I've always, always been a night person. Like,
Mhm.
I will stay up late to watch TV. I will stay up late to do, and I felt no guilt, no remorse,
Mhm.
none. I was
Mhm.
like, and especially in college, like being a tech major, I was with a lot of other tech majors, and all of us consistently would just stay up all night. And we'd all stay up night, like we'd hang out together, like
Mhm.
midnight in the rec lounge studying. And so I just kind of got used to it, and like all my classes were later in the day, so I like could afford to sleep in a lot of the time and things like that.
Mhm.
And then now that I'm an adult,
Mhm.
now that I'm a full grown adult,
Woman.
yeah, I think it's time to just adapt those habits. And I look at my parents a lot, and I'm like,
Mhm.
they wake up at like 6, 5 in the morning and like have a whole morning routine before
Mhm.
they leave for work.
Mhm.
I'm like, they do all these like little steps, little habits
Mhm.
before they leave. And I'm over here like struggling to like wake up and like go to the bathroom and like get ready for my meeting and like log on. And I'm like, I'm rushing to do everything. And
Yeah.
so the reason for my transition has been so I can have that like peaceful morning time where I can like do
Mhm.
my routine before I get my day started.
Yes.
The hardest part has been going to sleep early.
Yeah.
It's the
That's
hardest
what
part.
I'm curious about. Like, how do you, like, just lay there? Like, eventually you fall asleep?
I luckily again I think I've mentioned it, but I picked up last year reading before bed.
Oh, mhm.
And so at the beginning of the year, I was lacking that a little bit. I would just not I would watch YouTube. I wouldn't be reading. And so trying to finish Atomic Habits, I would read every night, like a chapter at least. Eventually, what I've learned is like having that wind down portion of
Mhm.
your night helps because then I can actually wake up earlier because I went to sleep.
Mhm. And it's also, like, being gentle with yourself too, like, if you can't specifically fall asleep at the same exact time every day, like, it's okay, like, you just gotta keep trying again and again until you eventually, like, build that one habit, and then it's just
Mhm.
gonna happen so naturally.
Mhm.
Um, that's definitely, like, something that I started noticing too because going back to, like, how you talked about, like, that fast morning routine, like, that
Mhm.
used to be me. Like, with my last job, I used to wake up, like, maybe 30 minutes before I actually had to go in, so I had, like, 15 minutes to get ready, 15 minutes to drive to work, and so
Mhm.
I was always rushing, and then even, like, driving to work, I was like, like, speeding, unnecessary speeding, but it's because I just couldn't get myself to wake up earlier.
Mhm.
And then now with my new job, I said, "I'm not gonna do that again," because, like, I hated doing that, like, it made me hate work. On top of already hating work, like, it made me hate it even more, and
Mhm.
so this time I'm like, I feel like that's unnecessary hate that I don't need in my life, and I don't wanna do that, and I also don't wanna just live my life living for work. Like, I'm obviously gonna have to work, but it's just gonna, like, fuel my life outside of work. That's the way I see it.
You work to live, you
Work
don't
to
live to
live.
work.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And so I started incorporating the, like, slow mornings and the slow nights to, like, help me go to sleep and wake up earlier.
Mhm.
So instead of me feeling rushed in the morning, I do, like, a little routine where, like, I wake up, I, like, let myself snooze for, like, 10 minutes, and then I
Mhm.
force myself to get out of bed. I brush my teeth, I wash my face, and then I sit down to, like, read a little bit, maybe I take my pre-workout, I journal, and then I like work out, and then I like make my breakfast, and then I go to work.
Mhm.
And then when I come back home, I like have a little bit of time for myself, and then like the hour before bed, I start slowly like transitioning to bed. And I think that that slow transition makes me fall asleep because my body is used to that routine where like
Mhm.
I, again, brush my teeth, I wash my face, and then I read, and then I journal, and I meditate, and then by the time I'm, like, going to lay in bed, I literally knock out, I forget.
Mhm.
I don't it's like it's just an automatic response, and I used to be the type of person that would toss and turn in bed because I was
Mhm.
anxious and, like, nervous and just thinking about everything, and now I just fall asleep, and
Mhm.
it's because of that routine, like, my body is just used to it.
We love habits and routine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really. It's changed our life.
Yeah, I mean, when you like what you just said and how
Mhm,
you like knock out now, I didn't realize that I could be that person as well because I'm also a tosser and turner. I like need
mhm,
to make sure I'm like comfy before I go to sleep.
mhm.
But like nowadays, I'll like close my Kindle, put it away because I have like a little corner, and I'll
Uh-huh.
just knock out.
Yeah.
Or like if I feel like I can't sleep, I'll pick my Kindle up and I'll like read for a little bit,
Mhm.
and then I'll notice like, no, I'm tired enough, and then I would go to sleep.
Yeah. I feel like that's the equivalent of, like, being a party animal and, like, getting drunk, and then you pass out.
Mhm.
It's like that, but we're, like,
I'm
homebodies.
like
We're reading.
I'm like over here like, okay, what is going on in this
Yeah, literally. You just pass out, wake up, and we're like, "What happened? That was a
what
crazy
page was I on?
night." Alright, question number 4.
What have you learned about society?
I don't know.
Men are weird.
Men are weird. Let's talk about something we didn't like in the book. What I didn't like in the book was when he was talking about a cookie, and he said, "When you see a cookie, tell
Yeah.
yourself this cookie's gonna make me gain weight. This
Mhm.
cookie's gonna be bad for me, and then you'll stop eating the cookie." I'm like, "No. That is
I'm
not
gonna
the way it
I'm gonna
works,
fight the
sir."
author. I'm
Right?
going to fight this author. You
Yeah.
don't talk about cookies.
Yeah. That reminded me of you
You
because you're
know,
a cookie person.
when he started talking about it, honestly, my least favorite part about the entire book, I think,
Mhm.
is how much he talked about weight loss. I
Mhm.
didn't really like it. I didn't like the way he talked about it and like the way he approached the situation. I understand where he's
Yes.
coming from, but like I
Mhm.
just personally didn't sit well with me.
I think he didn't have that intention. You definitely know he didn't have that intention, but I think he didn't realize how it could come off too. And I'm also
Mhm.
curious to know, like, for someone who did talk about a lot about weight loss, has he been through weight loss?
See, that's the thing is like yeah, we don't know. I do know that he's a professional baseball player, so he take the professional back. He played baseball and he talked
Uh-huh.
about playing baseball. I'm gonna double check. Yeah, it does not say that he was a professional baseball player, but he did say that he played baseball and he got injured in the beginning of the book, if you remember.
Yeah, I remember that.
And based on that, I know he views fitness
Mhm.
a very specific way.
Yeah.
And and I think this goes to the whole like what have you learned about society is because he views fitness in the way that society views fitness, and
Yes.
it is fully about like weight loss and eating healthy and doing all those things. And so that part of the book is honestly why I'm like knocking it off a star.
Mhm. I agree. That's something I definitely noticed too, is he would talk a lot about as if like it's easy.
Mhm.
And that is definitely the way that society does view it. Like society is like, you want to lose weight? Okay, then lose weight. Give up
Mhm.
the stuff you like. But it's not that easy, especially coming from someone who has like food addictions or like things like that.
Also being a
And it's
woman.
hard being a woman because it's so much harder for a woman to lose weight than it is for a man.
Mhm.
Because men can eat crazy diets and still look fit, but we eat crazy diets and we can gain weight, or
Mhm.
we could sometimes, in some cases, lose it very
Mhm.
easily, and then it's harder to build it back.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Our bodies are very different from men.
He talked about it in a very linear way, and it's
Yeah.
not linear.
Like, he'd bring up the whole weight loss thing as a habit
Yeah.
every chapter. So whenever it was that part, I was like, "Oh, great. We're back to this. Like,
Yeah.
can we talk about something else?"
I can't see, I'm blind.
Mhm.
That's the only way I got through it.
Just moving on, moving on.
Yeah, pretend I didn't read this. All right, let's
Yeah.
go. He had very good points, but it was just that part of it that
Mhm.
was like, it's not that easy.
Mhm.
So again, men.
Men.
That's that's the moral of our story. Okay, let's move on. The next question is, what has been the most difficult for you when creating new habits, and how can you get over this?
It's difficult to keep it up.
Yes. It's easy to do it one day, like to feel
Mhm.
motivated and act on that motivation and do it, but then like to keep it up, that's hard. Like you
Mhm.
have to keep going even though sometimes you don't want to. And I experienced that today.
Yeah.
I went for my run this morning, and right before I went for my run, right before I even started working out, I kind of didn't want to do it. I
Mhm.
don't know, I wasn't feeling it. But then I'm like, no, like I'm just gonna go for it. And then I did it, and I had one of my best runs. I even got another personal best. So yeah, that just goes to show that like you have to like push past those like
The hurdles.
feelings of, yeah, like not wanting to do it
Mhm.
and making yourself do it. And then those are, I feel like those are the most important days in any sort of journey. It's like the days when you don't want to do it and you do it, they're going to be the most beneficial, and they're going to like build on that consistency.
'Cause you're always gonna feel better after doing it.
Mhm.
Like, it's hard to do it, but then
Mhm.
once you do it, it's like, I feel so good. I'm so
Yeah.
happy that I did that for myself.
Yes. Yeah, you're never
Mhm.
going to regret doing something for yourself. Ooh,
Yeah.
my voice cracked.
Yeah, you're never gonna regret, like, creating a new habit, like, taking one step toward creating a new habit.
Mhm. That was a good one.
Mhm.
All right. The next question.
But what has been the most difficult for you when stopping bad habits? How can you get over this? Maybe it's a
Mm.
habit you've had since you were a young adult or child?
I feel like this goes back to what we said about how it's hard to break those habits because it's like a part of who you are.
Mhm.
Like previous to picking up the new routine of me like meditating, reading, and journaling before bed, I used to like scroll on my phone.
TikTok.
And yeah, and it was so hard to like put my phone down for a while. Like I
Mhm.
would read, but then I would like I literally felt myself like wanting to like grab my
Grab the
phone.
phone. Mhm.
Cause it's like, oh, I just need to check. Like, what are people doing? Like, what's going on? Like, am I gonna miss this? Or it was kind of hard to break that. But once I did break it, it now I don't even reach for my phone before bed. Like I
Mhm.
just let it, if it dings, it dings. And I just sleep, you know? I'm
Yeah.
like, I can get it in the morning. It'll be fine, you know? I'm not gonna like wake up and everything's going to be deleted off of my phone.
Just all of a sudden, no messages, absolutely
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. It really does feel that way. Like if you're not going to be on social media 24/7, you feel like you're going to miss something, but like it's social media. Nothing disappears. And if you really want to find something, you can find something.
Yeah. No, that's very true. I think like social media is so hard. So what I've done to prevent, same way, I go on my phone, like I scroll through Instagram, Twitter, the other ones, not TikTok. And so there, he said one thing.
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay. So in the third law, which is make it easy, the opposite
Mhm.
of that to break a bad habit was make it difficult.
Mhm.
And so that's what I did. I
Mhm.
increased friction. And so on your screen time, you can go and like set up times where you have like
Mhm.
downtime and like you can't open certain apps, or like a message will pop up and be like, oh, like you've reached your limit, and like you can set app limits and things like that. So that's what
Mhm.
I did.
Okay, that's a perfect example of like how it's hard to break a habit because I physically cannot do that to my phone. I don't know why. Like I can't. I
Yeah.
can't put the screen time. Like I I, I don't want to feel restricted for some reason.
Hmm.
So that one's hard, but I feel like it's a really good habit to or like a good what'd you call it? It's a good tool. I feel
Yeah.
like it's a good tool and it would be very beneficial. Maybe one day I'll get there, but like right now, I cannot. I rather have like the self restraint. That's how I
Yeah.
feel.
It's different for everybody. And
Mhm.
like if you're able to, for you, if you don't
Mhm.
pick it up and you're like journaling, you're doing your wind down, you feel good, then you
Mhm.
kind of don't need it. But for me, it's like I started that also when I was in college. I didn't do
Mhm.
it like on a regular basis, but during like midterms, finals, like any big exam, I'd be like, can't go on social media, because
Mhm.
those are the times where I like pick up my phone and I stay scrolling.
Mm.
I don't stop because I'm like, I would much rather distract myself than go and study for an exam that I'm scared of.
See, that's like a really good example of how like different things are going to work for different people. And if you
Hmm.
watched our fitness episode, we talked about this and how like just because everyone else does something a certain way doesn't mean you have to do it because it might work for them, but it might not work for you.
Hmm.
So that's like a really good example because I'm like the complete opposite where like I I focus more on self-restraint. I
Hmm.
feel like that makes me feel stronger is like I don't reach for my phone because I choose to not reach for my phone. Like I'm not restricting myself, you know what I mean? And
Hmm.
if I do use that restriction, I in turn feel an extra like need to check my phone because I'm restricted. So for me, it has to be like I have to become stronger mentally in order for me to keep up with that habit. Versus like for you, like you're just like, oh, I'm chilling. Like I can't even go on my phone because like
Yeah.
I'm restricted.
I'm like, boundaries, not allowed
Yeah.
to.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's really interesting how like it's a really good example of how like do what's right
Things
for
work
you.
differently. Yeah. I also don't
Mhm.
know many people that use downtime or use
Yeah.
app restriction. Like I think
Mhm.
I'm I think I'm the only person I know that actually uses it. But like for
Mhm.
me, that is what works for me, because
Mhm.
I will stay on Twitter. I won't get off of it. And I know I
Yeah.
won't. So I have to do that and make it
Mhm.
unattractive so that I
Yes.
don't do it.
Yes. That's a good example. I like that one. All right. The next question is when implementing 1% improvement systems slash habits, are you going to apply slash already have in your life to help you reach your ultimate identity slash goals? Okay, that was a hard question
Yeah, that was
to
I
get through.
until you started reading it, still didn't get it.
Yeah. Okay. I think what they were trying to say is like, yeah, I don't know what they were trying to say.
Yeah, because there's a lot of slashes in this one.
I think that what they're saying is like maybe how are you implementing the 1% habit
What
that
like
he
new
mentions
habits have
in
you
that
been?
book?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And how has it changed your life or made you like be able to work towards your goals?
Yeah, that's basically all it is.
And so the 1% improvement system is actually I think we've talked about this before. I'm not too sure.
I think in our fitness episode as well.
Yeah, where like you do a little bit at a time instead of like forcing yourself to like sit down and do something for like 5 hours straight. Because like that concept of like having to do something for 5 hours is gonna
That's
make you feel like you don't want to do it.
that's the 2-minute rule. which is different.
Oh, then what's the
Yeah.
1%?
The 1% is just the fact that, like, if you keep improving, you'll keep growing 1% every day.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
That
okay,
was
okay.
at the beginning of the book. Like, very beginning, first
Mm.
chapter. Couple
Right, so like
chapters.
small steps, small
Mhm.
goals. Okay, so then with the 1% rule, what I've actually been doing with that one is celebrating my small achievements
Mhm.
and not focusing on like the end goal. And I feel like that's been helping me to like get closer to the goals that I've set for myself. Especially like right now where I'm like trying to do a 5K. Instead of like forcing myself to run right off the bat, I'm like slowly working my way to like being able to consistently run.
Mhm.
And even if I just improve like a couple of seconds, if I improve like a minute or whatever, like I'm celebrating those achievements versus feeling the need to like be able to run a 5K right off the bat, you know?
Mhm.
So I feel like that 1%, what you call it, improvement system
Mhm.
has definitely helped me like to focus on the little goals and the little steps
Mhm.
instead of the bigger picture. What about you?
Yeah, I think it's also celebrating the wins, I'm with you
Mhm.
on that. As
Mhm.
of right now,
Mhm.
there's a graph and it shows like how the 1% improvement system works. And there's a
Mhm.
small little valley of like disappointment where you feel like
Mhm.
you're not seeing any improvements, and that's like the hurdle you have to get over to start seeing improvements. That's where I
Mhm.
am like right now. I'm like in the valley where I'm like, okay, I'm waking up earlier, but like I don't know. I'm still working on it. Like I'm not like my routine's
Mhm.
not fully developed. I'm still
Mhm.
like working out the little details, like at
Mhm.
what time should I turn the stove on to like heat up my water, like little details
Mhm.
about timing. So I'm in the valley personally, but I know that
Mhm.
if I keep it consistent, I'll get out of that valley and I will start to see like maybe I'm feeling physically better or something since I'm waking up or feeling more energized in the morning.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Also, can I say I love how you actually looked at the graphs?
That's the only graph I remember
Okay.
because
I
it's
was
like the
like,
first one.
yeah. Okay.
I
Well,
think so.
thank you for paying attention because I didn't pay attention.
Mhm. Some of them were like not that important, so
Yeah.
I get it. I think I'm talking about like literally one of the first ones.
It's like the first picture we're introduced to.
Yeah, no, it's on page 22. It's like
Okay.
the first
It's like right in there.
graph. But yeah, there's a little valley of disappointment right there, and that's where
Mm.
I am right now.
Yeah, actually, I guess kind of piggybacking off of what you said about, taking the time to find like the little improvements that you need to make. I've definitely been implementing that as well because it's hard not to expect so much of yourself when you see so many other people being so successful on social media with like the things that they do, like their little daily routines, and like they
Mhm.
make it seem so perfect. And so it's hard for you to like go day to day and like not have a perfect routine. And
Mhm.
then like things come up too. Like, okay, I'll see like people on social media and they're going for runs every day, right? They never
Mhm.
miss them, and then me over here trying to like go on runs every day as well, but then something comes up, like someone invites me to hang out and then I go hang out with them, or maybe something comes up where I'm just not able to. And so like I beat myself up a little bit for not going on that run every day.
Right.
But now I'm focusing more on like it's not about how much you do, it's the fact that you do it when you
Mhm.
can.
He basically talks about how when you like miss a day,
Mhm.
don't miss a second day.
Mhm.
Like, try not to miss a second day. It's okay if it happens. It's okay if something comes up. But, like, again, that's kind of like a bad habit forming, and so you don't
Mhm.
want a bad habit to form.
Mhm.
So you wanna get back on it.
Mhm.
That's basically it.
I feel like there's such a fine line with that too though.
There is.
'Cause I mean, again, it's different for everyone. And
Mhm.
like for me, when I wanted to pick up the habit of journaling, I knew if I didn't actually pick up the habit every single day, if I just miss one day, I'm gonna fall out of the habit because I'm gonna remember what it's like to not do that thing. And then it just becomes easier for me to excuse it like the second day, the third day, the fourth day, versus like if I force myself to do it even when I don't want to. And I'm forcing myself, but I'm also not forcing myself to do the absolute most. So it doesn't feel like a hassle. So again,
Mhm.
that's why it says like it's such a fine line because like
Mhm.
it could go both ways. Like you could be forcing yourself and then it's like a bad thing, or you could force yourself and it's a good thing.
And it depends on what type of habit you're trying to form.
Mhm.
'Cause in my thoughts, like, when you said, like, you might miss a run because you went out to
Mhm.
like hang out with someone.
Mhm.
I don't think that's a bad habit forming because it's just
Mhm.
like one hangout. You're not hanging out consistently with this person every day that you're going to keep continuing to miss your runs.
Mhm.
You hang out with this person on Thursday, on Friday, you're still able to go run.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I
It
guess
depends
like
on the habit.
yeah, and that just kind of goes back to the whole thing where like I'm just going with the flow now instead of like
Mhm.
having to be so strict with things because like I feel like if I have that strict mindset, then that's when I start to feel bad for missing a day. But if I'm just going with the flow, I'm like, all right, it's okay. I couldn't go this day. Let me go tomorrow.
Mhm.
And it's going to be fine. I'm not going to fall out of the habit.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
And like with journaling, that's something you can make time for every night. Like it's part of your wind down. So you're not setting yourself to like a time constraint.
Mhm.
You're not like, oh, at 10 p.m., I'm going to journal my thoughts before I go to bed.
Mhm.
Like you're
Yeah.
just like, it's a habit. It doesn't have a time constraint to it.
Yeah.
That goes
Exactly.
back to habit stacking.
Yeah.
Shout out to
Yes.
James Clear.
Half James Clear. To
Yeah,
James, not the clear part. I'm just kidding. I don't know what it is.
just James. Only
Just
James.
James. Only James. Who's clear?
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, next question. Which strategies have you used already or want to use, and how will these strategies help improve your life/business?
My favorite was the second law, which is make it attractive. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
In how to break a bad habit, my favorite was make it difficult. The reason that I like this strategy of making it attractive is because when you make something attractive, you want to do it more.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, making your habits more attractive just makes you want to do them more. And
Mm-hmm.
I just think that's so fun. Like, I think that's
Yeah.
something I don't really think about the word attractive when it comes to habits. So
Mm-hmm.
I guess hearing it in this way made it like click in my head, like, oh, yeah, duh. A new habit I formed recently is I go outside for like 10 minutes every day.
Mm-hmm.
At some point in the middle of the day, I just go outside and I just sit outside in the sun
Mm-hmm.
because I want to get fresh air and like want to be outside a little bit more. And so that's something I formed and it made life more attractive
Mm-hmm.
because I get to see the sun.
Yeah. No, I get you. I get you
Hmm.
because at work we get 15-minute breaks, right?
Yeah.
And right next to my work, there's like this little garden that has like a walkway. And I go out there every single day and I literally walk around the thing like 3 times. And it just feels nice to be out and like
Hmm.
in nature. And it makes me feel good. And I low key look forward to work to go on my little 15-minute break and go on my little walk because it's
Yeah.
attractive,
It's
I
attractive.
made
It
it
is a
attractive.
habit.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And that's like, I think that's just so cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's a cool way to phrase it.
Yeah. Yeah, it is
Hmm.
fun. Like, yeah, my routine is attractive.
Yeah. Like
She's
it's something
sexy
that's
or
attractive.
whatever.
She's sexy. She's sexy to me. And that's all that matters.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the other end, for me, the other strategy, again, how to break a bad habit is make it difficult, adding friction.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a simple thing. Like, you know how people sometimes, again, people lock their phones and like you can't open until the timer is up cases or like things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or like for me, like downtime. Like I
Mm-hmm.
love adding friction and making things more difficult because then I really just, as someone who's sometimes lazy, I don't want to do it. Like I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to go through the effort of like having to do this like bad habit. So
Mm-hmm.
those two, I don't know why, like have really stuck to me
Like,
since reading the
yeah.
book. Hmm.
Mm. Those are good ones. I think mine is definitely make it satisfying, which is the fourth
Mm.
law.
Hmm.
And for me, I think it's because I focus a lot on feeling.
Hmm.
And if I do something, it's because it's going to make me feel good. And if I do get that response, then I stick with it. But if I don't get that response, then I stop it. And so I think that's something that just really helps me to figure out what works for me. And that's why my routine is so beneficial to me because I tried different things and I felt it out and like I ended up liking this specific routine and it makes me feel good
Hmm.
and I enjoy it. And yeah, making it satisfying has just really satisfied me.
Are you using a habit tracker like he says?
No, I'm not I cannot keep up with like tracking.
Yeah,
Like
he does talk about that.
I forget about it.
It's different for everyone. I mean, you track your Your workouts, that's something you do.
Mhm.
Mhm.
'Cause I'm at watch. It does
Oh,
it
I
for me.
mean, you have your, like, calendar and stuff?
Oh, yeah. Like the crossing off. Like the he mentioned it in here. He said it's like a visual
Yeah.
of being able to see the progress that you made.
Habit tracking, that chapter was I was like, "Okay, you're talking to someone who already knows
Mhm.
how to do this. Moving on."
Been there, done that.
Been tracking habits for, like, 6 years. I
Mhm.
don't need to read about this.
It's like, "Sir, would you like me to pull out my plethora of journals?" So it says making progress is satisfying, and visual measures like moving paper clips or hairpins or marbles provide clear evidence of your progress. As a result, they reinforce your behavior and add a little bit of immediate satisfaction to any activity. Visual measurement comes in many forms like food journals, workout logs, loyalty punch cards, etc., etc. And my visual tracking is my Apple Watch. I need my Apple
What did you
Watch.
do?
I have my Apple Watch tan.
Oh, you can't see mine as much.
uh
It's there, I promise it's there.
it's like I'm proud of my Apple Watch tan. That's our visual representation.
Mhm. But yeah, like, being able to see the rings fill out and, like, getting
Mhm.
the little animation of them filling out is, like,
Yeah.
that immediate satisfaction.
And it also really helps that you put me onto the being able to like share, because it's
Uh,
fun to be able to like cheer you on.
so you didn't know that
I
before?
didn't know you could do that. So when you reached out to me, okay, so fun story, guys. When Nyla first reached out to me, like I didn't know who this woman was. And she said, add me on your Apple Watch. I'm like,
We'd been
okay.
we'd been talking, okay, at that point.
Had we?
Yeah,
No,
because
because you just gave
we
me
moved from Instagram to text at that
two
point.
tags. Okay. And then you said, add me on. Okay.
I just
I
add
just thought that was
everyone.
funny.
I'm just like, "You Apple Watch? Add me."
Oh, I see. I'm not the only one.
No, but you're the only one I respond to all the time.
Okay. I was referring to, if you guys watch Abbott Elementary, the,
Oh.
the little boy.
In the last episode, guys.
Yes. Let us know if you watch Abbott and like,
Yeah, we're obsessed. We talk about it
yeah,
too much.
we really do.
But yeah, Crystal, see, okay. Also on Apple Watch, they have this little thing where you can compete with someone else.
Uh-huh.
And I will never ever compete with you. Don't
Me
expect that
neither.
notification because like I cannot reach your level of like
Oh,
working out.
please. You have like your 700 calorie days. I'm like, okay,
Okay, that's
Nyla,
Zumba days.
now you're showing up. That's
Zumba days
literally one
are
of the responses.
yeah, all the time.
Yeah. But yeah, Zumba days. Nyla does like double Zumba days one day. I'm like,
Yeah,
okay, I can't compete with that.
I do die after those days.
But you feel good afterwards.
I do. Yeah, I love them.
Mm-hmm.
I love my double Zumba days. Does
Mm-hmm.
it take up a lot of my time? Yeah. Do I mind? No, because it's a habit I enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
All right, let's move on. Question is, what cultural norms where you're from do you feel are an advantage or disadvantage to creating good habits? And I'm not necessarily this is like a cultural norm, but it's the fact that there's not a lot of healthy places around me.
Mm.
And it's really hard because there's like a Jack in the Box, there's a McDonald's, there's a Burger King, but where's like the healthier options are like
Hmm.
further away. And so if I'm hungry and I want something fast, I'm gonna go to McDonald's, I'm gonna go to Jack in the Box, I'm gonna go get myself some Burger King. And so
Hmm.
that really makes it hard. I think that's something that like is a huge restriction. And the only like healthy, like quote unquote healthy grocery store here is the Sprouts.
Mm.
They have
Which
like,
again, expensive.
yeah, and that's another
Mhm,
thing is that like these places like they charge so much more for the foods that are like healthier, and so it's literally like restrictive because you can only buy what you can afford.
mhm.
And so that's definitely a huge struggle for me.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I also like food options close by, very limited.
Mhm.
Closest place to me, Burger King.
Mhm.
Closest place on the other side, Subway. So,
Yeah.
options are limited. I do think that is a disadvantage,
Mhm.
definitely. I think it's
But
also a disadvantage, to live in, like, a suburb
mhm.
because not a lot of places are walkable. And so a lot of the times we're like have to drive and we have to
Yeah.
like there's a lot of restraint when it comes to being able to do things.
Yes. Also, living in not as safe neighborhoods, you can't
Mhm.
necessarily walk places because it is pretty dangerous in
Mhm.
comparison to like living even in a suburb where it's like maybe like a richer side of town, and you can like so safely go on walks, go on runs, and not fear for your life
I was gonna
versus
say,
like
even if like you were in a nicer neighborhood, like being a person of color is never easy.
oh yeah,
Walking around, like there's so many things that I think we are kind of at a disadvantage for.
truly.
Mhm.
Also, gym memberships can be very expensive. And there's people who are going to like like what is that one that like Equinox or something that's like a
Equinox.
super expensive gym,
Mhm.
and like that's not something we could afford, but like they have
Mhm.
so many amenities. They have like massage places in there. They
They're
have
like
like,
ice baths.
yeah, you could take showers, like nice showers, and yeah,
Mhm.
maybe one day we'll get there.
Yeah. But also for cultural norms, this is just like a funny little fact, I guess.
Hmm.
Do you remember in the complexion episode, it's such a bad thing to get darker in our cultures, and so like even walking outside in the sun.
That's true. That's so true.
Mhm.
Today during my run, I came back and I tanned.
Mhm.
And I was looking at myself in the mirror, and my trauma response was, I got darker. But then I was
Mhm.
like, no, no, no. I look
It's
good.
okay.
I look good. Leave me alone.
Mhm.
Leave me alone at inner me. All right. Do you have anything else to add to that?
That itself could be a whole thing.
Oh, yeah. It
Yeah.
really could.
But for now, I think that's about it.
Hmm. All right. What's the most common act people put on to please others?
Too many. Lying.
Lying.
I don't know.
I have one. I have
Mm.
one. Okay. So this kind of goes, okay, you know how he talks about picking up personalities that are going to be beneficial for you?
Yes.
Okay, I used to do the opposite. I would
Mhm.
pick up habits that would be like socially accepted. I don't know if
Mhm.
this makes sense, but let me explain. So it is like socially cool to be lazy.
Mhm.
And I would like not want
Before
to
the
improve.
pandemic.
Yeah, 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 before the
Mhm.
pandemic. And I would not want to improve my life because if I improve my life, I would no longer be that socially cool, lazy person.
Mhm.
And that's something that did stop me. And I feel like I did that to please other people.
Mhm.
Whenever you're talking to people, they're like, "Oh, yeah, I don't like going on walks," or I don't eat healthy. I eat Burger King all the time. And then I could be like, "Oh, yeah, I do that too." And then I kept myself stuck in that same mindset because I wanted to be able to relate to them. And
Mhm.
so I wouldn't let myself grow into the person that I wanted to be so that I
Mhm.
could keep fitting in with like them. Does that make
Mhm.
sense?
Yeah, it does. Because I
Okay.
feel like it's the opposite now.
Now it is.
Like if you're lazy, you're looked down upon because you're not being active. You're not going out and doing all these things and like living your life. Like if you're not doing something every second of the day, like you're looked down upon
Mhm.
now.
Now we're in that productivity
Mhm.
culture, and so now it's, yeah, how you said, it's like the complete opposite, and so if you're not, like, always doing something, you feel bad for
Yeah.
not always doing something.
Sometimes you
Mhm.
want to scroll on your phone.
Mhm.
Like, why is that looked down upon?
Yeah, and that's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. It's okay
I
to
think
scroll
it's
every once in a while.
yeah, I think that just comes down to the whole balance thing.
Yeah.
So, it's not a bad thing, it's just, like, how much time are you spending on it versus, like, doing things that are actually benefiting you? But I also wonder if it's different for us because now we are grown, and now we're actually, like, adults. And, like, back then we were kids, so it was, like, so much
Mhm.
easier to, like, not do anything and just spend your time scrolling.
Oh,
But
yeah.
now we actually have to, like, work towards building our futures.
Yeah, back then I could literally watch like 13 seasons of a show in one
Yeah.
sitting and not care.
Yeah. And now it's like
One episode came out, oh my god, where am I gonna find time to do this?
exactly. Like, literally, the season 4 of You just came
Mhm.
out, and I watched, like, 10 minutes of it during my lunch break, and then I only just finished the first full episode today.
Mhm. Yeah, it's harder, much harder now. I think we are
Mhm.
adults, which is nice to
When did we
know
get
that.
here?
It's nice to know that we have a balance now.
Yeah, or we're working
Mhm.
towards it.
We are. And this
Alright.
next question is weird.
Let us know what it is.
To what point do you think it's okay to mimic your idols?
Oh, I
Well,
guess that kind of goes to like what we said with, be inspired off of people, but don't necessarily think that's the only way to do it. And
yeah.
if it doesn't work for you, then that means that you like failed.
Hmm.
No, like try other things.
Hmm. Do you mimic your idols?
I actually don't have many idols.
I was gonna say, I don't know who I would mimic.
Yeah, I
You
really
know
don't have
what?
many.
Yeah, I'm gonna mimic Stephen Curry and I'm gonna go to the gym and play basketball every day for like 3 hours.
Get your get your head in the game. Gotta get your yeah. No, yeah, that's yeah, I really don't think I have many idols that I like mimic. We can move on. What do you think about journaling? And do you
Do
forward?
it. Do you poet? I think it was supposed to say, do you do it?
Do you forward?
Hmm.
Okay. What do you think of journaling and do you do it?
I do journal. Other than bullet journaling, I regularly journal as well.
I was curious about that. I was wondering, like, do you journal in your bullet journal? But then I never see you create a space to journal in your bullet journal. So that's why I was like,
No, I journal in so many different places. I'm a big, we talk about this all the time. I love
mm-hmm.
organization and things like that. So I have a Notion,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes when I feel like typing, I'll journal
Mm-hmm.
on Notion.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have a dream journal on Notion. So like whenever I have a weird dream, I'm like, oh my God. Like, and so that way I journal like that. And then I also have the same journal that Crystal has in black.
Ooh,
Yeah, the
yes.
moleskin.
The
And so this is
moleskins.
like, let's see if I can open this without it being, oh yeah, this is a fun page because this is Star Wars. So even if you see anything, it's like nothing major, but like I'll journal.
It's like, Dear Diary, I love Anakin and Luke Skywalker
Pretty
and
much.
Yoda.
Pretty much. But yeah, I journal. I do more of journaling like based on how I'm feeling. I don't
Mm-hmm.
do it every day.
Mm-hmm.
That's bullet journaling's more of my everyday thing. So like
Mm-hmm.
I write down 3 positives a day and that's like my everyday thing.
Mm-hmm.
But for my journal, it's like whenever I just feel like
Feel the
picking it up and
need.
writing.
That makes sense. I also have two journals I work with, but mine are one journal, which is like my thoughts, my feelings, if I need to work through emotions, that's this journal. And then this is my manifesting journal. And I don't like to put the
Mm.
negativity in this journal. So this one is only positive and this one is like anything, which I
Hmm.
don't really have much negativity, but it's just like the emotions I'm still trying
The
to work
intrusive
through.
thoughts.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That's like on that one. That's my journaling situation.
What do you think about it?
I really like journaling because I feel like it does help me work through some emotions. It's kind of like when you open up to a friend, except maybe sometimes you're scared to open up to a friend and you could do it on the journal and you could just talk yourself through it. And
Hmm.
like it's funny because I'll start off like writing my problem and then I have my own solution like towards the end.
It's always like that moment where you're like, oh, figured it out. Moving on.
Yeah. And then I realized I was just overreacting most of
Maybe
the
it's
time.
just like actually like this.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Or maybe like I'm interpreting the situation because that's definitely one thing I realized is that sometimes it just comes down to interpretation. Like how you interpreted the situation is not always how it actually is.
That is very true.
You know,
Crystal spitting facts.
I break out into a rap song. Okay.
Heck
All
yeah.
right, let's move on.
What good habits do you enjoy?
What good habits do I enjoy? Do you have some?
Yeah, working out.
Oh yeah.
It's my
Would you
favorite
consider it
habit
a
to enjoy.
habit?
Yeah.
Would you consider it a habit?
Hmm. I'm in habit of
You know
doing
what?
it. So,
Okay. This kind of goes off to the whole interpretation thing.
yes.
When I think of habit, I think of the act of doing something, not the
Hmm.
actual doing the thing. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So when I think of like exercise, I think of it as it's
As
like
the
a
thing.
lifestyle instead of the
Hmm.
habit. The habit is doing the exercise.
Mm.
Like getting from point A to point B, that's the habit.
Hmm.
And then the exercise is like the lifestyle.
Mm.
Does that make
That makes
sense to you?
sense. Yeah.
Okay.
I think
Do
because I
you
think
view
of
it
like,
like
I think the whole thing is just my lifestyle.
uh-huh.
Like, this is just my life now. That's how I've
Mm-hmm.
interpreted it, is like, this is
Mm-hmm.
just my life. And so a habit in
Yeah.
my life is
Mm-hmm.
working out.
Is working out.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But no, definitely working out is a good one. Like
Hmm.
getting into the habit of working out is one of my favorite things like that I've done, because now I love working out so much that now I honestly don't even think about doing it. I just do it. And if I don't do it, I miss it. And like my body literally, like if you think of like craving food, which I actually don't really crave food. Like it's rare when I crave food, but I actually crave workouts.
I get that. I totally get that. Like if one of my instructors is out for a day, I get so mad. I get
Yeah.
so mad. I'm like, why did you leave me?
Yeah.
Why?
Why do you have a life outside of this gym?
No, actually. And then no, but okay, hey, my instructor, she like called me out for missing a day once, and I was like, she was like, I needed you. And I was like, I needed you, and you don't show up sometimes, and I have to go through that. So
That's funny.
we need each other.
You both just start crying.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a habit I enjoy. I also, again, reading before bed is one of my favorite habits that I have. There's a small little habit I do, which is just like a little quirk. But I really like condensing down my trash. I have a very, very strong habit of like making sure all of my like recycling, all of my trash is like completely condensed. And it's my favorite thing.
Oh, okay. She quirky or whatever. Actually, I do have a habit.
Do you have a
Now
quirk?
you've sparked. See, this is why I like you going first, because then it sparks something in me. Something I've been doing, my little quirky habit, is like cleaning up after myself every single night so that when I wake up, I have a clean room and a clean space. And that's a habit for me because it's like the act of like doing it, like, you know, getting up, cleaning right before bed.
Preparing.
It's like resetting. And he talks about it in the book.
You're setting yourself up for the next day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me read this from the book because I think it's going to summarize me as a person, and it might summarize you because you just said it too. Okay. So it says, when I walk into a room, everything is in its right place. Knuckles wrote. Because I do this every day in every room. Stuff always stays in good shape. People think I work hard, but actually I'm really lazy. I'm just proactively lazy. It gives me so much time back. And I've always said that when people say like, oh, you're so productive, or like, oh, you're so motivated, I'm like, no, I really am not. I'm lazy, but I do little things to help me set myself up for success so that I'm able to be consistent. And that just kind of like, that's what happens. You know, I clean every single day so that I don't have to like take one day where I have to clean everything. And then it just feels like a big hassle.
Yeah. Yep. That's how I am with my trash specific. No, I'm that way with everything as well. I'm like, you know how they talk about in the book, leaving your workout clothes out the night before? Like I do that very often. I do that all the time, actually. Like
You inspired me. I started doing that.
Yeah. Isn't it great to just have your outfit ready and then you wake up and you're like, ready to go?
Yeah. Like, thanks, me.
It's like,
I appreciate you.
see, and I think that's another thing, at least about Atomic Habits, that I realize is there's a lot of habits, and he talks about it too. He says it. There's a lot of habits that I already have formed that I don't even realize half the time.
Yeah. Okay. So we have 2 more questions, but I honestly think we can kind of merge these 2 together. So the first question is, what are the tasks that you know are good for you, but you've become bored with? And how can you overcome this? And the second question is, what motivates you to not give up on your habit? And I think those 2 can go kind of together. One thing that I feel like I can easily get bored with is reading and journaling. Because I've never liked reading and journaling, but now I'm learning to enjoy reading and journaling. But it's something that I can easily like skip. And I've noticed myself sometimes skipping it, but like I bring myself back. Like with my new book that I'm reading, because it's a fiction book, it's kind of harder to like pick it up in the morning versus like how easy it was with Atomic Habits. Because it was keeping me in a motivated state. Now with this fiction book, it's kind of like, it's a little harder because with fiction books, and we've both said this, where like the first couple of chapters are slow and you have to get past that. Yeah. And once you get into like that part where you can't put it down, then that's when you like can like keep going. But right now I'm still in that phase where it's like a little bit slower. And so it's like less motivating to pick up that type of book until I get to that part where I don't want to put it down. And so I think that that's something where like I could easily get bored with, but I'm like forcing myself to stay consistent with it and like get past that. and just remember that the book will get good. It's just I have to like get through this little valley.
The valley of disappointment.
What about you, Nayla?
I'm like trying to think of something that I've become bored with. Because I just think like you could say life itself is just boring. Every
Oh yeah.
task, brushing your teeth in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, you know what? I'll say it. The
Say it.
whole idea of like the morning, like brushing, skincare, and like
Yeah.
water's cold.
Mm-hmm.
It's already cold. Everything is cold because we're in
Mm-hmm.
winter. And so again, my music, I think that has helped me not be
Mm-hmm.
bored during that because
Mm-hmm.
it's a habit I've done every day of my life. Like it is the most boring habit in the
Mm-hmm.
book of having to
Yeah.
wake up and do it every day. And so like making it entertaining, again, make
Making
it
it attractive.
attractive. It's my favorite rule of the book. Like I
Wow,
just
full circle.
full circle. Thanks, James.
Thanks, James.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I think that is like that's the most boring task I can think of.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I don't think there's a daily task where I get bored.
You know what though? I feel like every routine, every habit has the potential to get boring after a while.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it's just human nature to get
Hmm.
bored of consistency. And I think that kind of goes back to the whole like making it attractive and like going with the flow. Like once you create a routine, your routine doesn't have to stay the complete same forever. You can change things along the way. And I think having that mindset is what helps me to like be able to keep going, is
Hmm.
going with the flow instead of like, okay, I have to build a routine and I have to do this every single like the same way every single day.
Hmm.
Like it's like every day's going to be different. There's going to be different challenges. Something new could come up and it's okay. It's just feeling things out and like working with that. And that's what's helped me personally stay consistent and be able to like continue building good habits.
Hmm. I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Going a little bit back. So
Mm-hmm.
you talked about how like journaling and reading can get boring
Mm-hmm.
and like you read in the morning and
Mm-hmm.
you journal at night.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever considered swapping them?
I do both morning and night.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm like, what if
But
you journal or like you can keep journaling both times, but like what if you only read fiction books like at
mm-hmm.
night and only read nonfiction books in the morning
mm, I
or
think
like
that would be
something like that?
harder. That would be
Hmm.
harder for me because I had a really bad habit of stopping and starting different books and never finishing the book.
Oh, so you stick to
Mm-hmm.
one book.
I stick to one book so that I can finish it. And that's gonna, because I set a goal of reading the 26, no, not 26. Whoa. No,
12
I would
books
not be
before
able to do
26?
that. Yeah, the 12 books
Hmm.
before 27. That's insane. That's insane. Um, yeah, anyways, I had that goal and I know that for me to be able to keep up with that goal, I have to stick to one book.
Hmm.
Because if I do like let's say I was working on this book and that book at the same time, I feel like I wouldn't have finished it. But because I stayed like I just only committed myself to this book, I was able to finish it. What's helped me work through that is not forcing myself to read a specific amount.
Just reading as
So
much as you going with the flow, going
yeah,
back to
going with
that.
the flow. It's
Hmm.
like in the morning, sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm just going to pick up the book. I'm going to read as much as I want. Sometimes I read a
Yeah.
page. Sometimes I read a whole chapter.
Yeah.
It just depends.
Because I understand, like, I am also weird with fiction in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
I can't just wake up and like get into a story.
Mm-hmm.
And so like that's why I specifically read at night.
Mm-hmm.
But like nonfiction I can read in the morning, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did you say something? Or
Oh, I can't really
what
think of any
motivates you?
task that boring, but going back to like what you said about like consistency being boring, for me personally, I don't find consistency boring.
Mm-hmm.
I love consistency.
But do you ever get to a point where you're a little bored, where you're like, you question yourself, like, do I want to keep doing this? But then you like remember how good it feels.
I think it's more anxiety than it is boredom for
Mm-hmm.
me personally.
Mm-hmm.
And so to get through the anxiety, I just have to like talk myself out of it and be like, we're just overthinking. We're
Mm-hmm.
okay. Like
Mm-hmm.
those are the times where I pick up my journal
You're like,
and I start like talking about
dear
it.
diary.
And then the revelation comes and I'm like, oh, solve my problem. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah,
Cause like I
actually,
don't get bored very often.
good for you. Good for you.
I don't
um,
know. My parents like really instilled the fact that there is no such thing as boredom.
really.
Hmm.
That's
I couldn't
interesting.
say the words I'm bored.
Really?
Yeah.
Because then they'd be like clean.
Well, yeah, they tell me to do something.
Uh-huh.
So I always had to like find things to do. And that's why I like read as a kid a lot, because reading
Mm-hmm.
was like not boring, or I watch a
Mm-hmm.
lot of TV.
But you know what? Boredom leads to creativity sometimes.
It does.
Because
It does.
we've talked about this, I think in one of our episodes, I can't remember which one it was, about how like
Times
moms,
have changed.
yeah, times
That
have changed.
episode.
Oh, you're so good at remembering things. Another thing I can't relate to you on. Kids nowadays don't know what it's like to be bored because they have an overload of content.
Mm-hmm.
And so now moms are trying to teach their kids how to be bored,
Yeah.
because in boredom, you try to find ways to like entertain yourself. And sometimes that leads to creativity. Like you realize you like drawing, you realize you like painting, you realize you like
Mm-hmm.
this and that, So boredom actually isn't that bad.
I don't
I
think it's
feel
a bad
like,
thing.
because when I do get bored of my routines, I remember how good it is to have a routine, and then I keep going. Like I get actually in boredom, I get re-inspired sometimes.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Like,
Mm-hmm.
even if I do feel a little bit of boredom, like somewhere in my head, I just
Mm-hmm.
know I know what to do to make myself less
Yeah.
bored.
Mm,
Yeah.
look at us.
Look at
How did
us.
we get here? I feel like that's a good way to like end off this episode.
Yes. Last
I
thoughts on the book?
Yeah, I feel like it's really hard to like summarize the book because there is so much in the book. There's a lot of things I probably forgot too.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
If you're able to read it, if you have it at your disposal, like
mhm,
if you can borrow it from someone, if you can go to a library, if you want to purchase it, I would say read it,
mhm,
but read it at a time in your life where you feel like you need it.
mhm.
Because I feel like it'd be more beneficial
Yes, I
if you're like in
agree.
a rut or something.
Yeah, you need like a little pick me up.
Mhm.
It's definitely like a good book to pick up. Um, and again, just like go into it not expecting that it's gonna change your life just by reading it.
Yeah.
I feel like if you go into the book thinking that, it's like the equivalence of you watching a workout video while you're laying down in bed. You know what I mean?
You're like, yeah, I'm getting my workout in by watching this.
Yeah. Yeah, like
Yeah.
if you actually want these things to like benefit you and to change your life, you actually have to implement them and like do them.
Hmm.
And stay consistent like even when you don't feel like doing them anymore. Cuz those days are going to build on the
It's the hardest days.
consistency. And they're going to like benefit you the most.
Hmm.
And you're gonna feel the greatest. Honestly, the days where I don't want to do something and I force myself to do it, I end up feeling better on those days.
I agree. I feel like, because like I said, there's days where you just wake up and you know what habits you're going to do, but those
Mm-hmm.
days you're not feeling too well and
Mm-hmm.
you get up and you make yourself do it. Those
Mm-hmm.
days are always like the best days. Because Crystal says this in every video. If you're not
Mm-hmm.
having a good day, you're going to turn it. What is it? What's the
You
quote?
can always turn the day around.
You can always turn the day around.
Definitely. And then something else I also implemented into my life is remembering that no one is going to get up and like push you. You're the only one that's going to be able to push yourself. And so again, I already said this, I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but if you want this book to benefit you and to change your life, like you have to get up and push it. Like James Clear is not gonna get up and like motivate you. He's not gonna be there at the gym with you. He's not gonna be
Hmm.
there on those walks with you. So take this and implement it into your life so that you can do it on your own and you don't have to depend on anyone else to be there, like holding your hand and like actually build these good habits. So show up for yourself.
Hmm. Take it one step at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let obstacles get in your way. It's all
Mm-hmm.
easier said than done.
Mm-hmm.
It's all in
Focus
your
on the
head.
1%,
Yeah.
the
Focus
little
on the good.
improvements.
Hmm.
Yep. Yeah. But yeah, I think that pretty much summarizes our episode. We want to thank you guys for taking the time to listen to us. Let us know down below if there's any habits that you've created since the new year started, or if there's anything you want to start and starting now, you're going to start it. Because the best
Hmm.
time to start is now.
Hmm.
And also, while you're down there in the comments, you can subscribe. You can turn on those post notifications so you can get notified whenever we post a new video. You can give us a thumbs up because you like this video or you like
Like the
us.
video. Like the video.
In our descriptions, you can also find our socials. You can find us on Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcast, and on here on YouTube. You can find us individually or together. And with that being said, guys, sorry for the spam. Guys.
See you real soon.
Yes. Like next week.